This is from the first quarter of the Raiders at Cardinals preseason contest, excuse me. It was 3rd and goal at the Raider 12. The Arizona Cardinals had the ball. No score. 8:31 remaining. Sorry about that, folks. 8:31 remaining in the first quarter, okay? This is that, all right? So let's look at what we've got here. We've got the Raiders in a plain vanilla defense. We've got what appear to be 3 down linemen because they're down, right? And you have 4 linebackers. They're going to blitz 47, okay? Note that Khalil Mack is not in. Okay, Khalil Mack is not in. The Raiders are playing what amounts to 3 down linemen, 3 linebackers, and 5 defensive backs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And then we have the 3 down linemen. We have 1, 2, 3 linebackers, 5 defensive backs here. Got it? That's what's going on. Okay. My issue is, first of all, that when the Raiders come off the ball, watch what happens. And I want you to, I'm going to do this in slow motion, okay? Watch this. Hold on a second. I'm going to make sure that, excuse me, this is properly lined up. Also, that, okay, cool, there we go. All right, watch what happens. They get set. Okay, now we went from 3 to 4, right? So it's obvious we have 4 coming. 4 down linemen, 3 linebackers, 5 defensive backs. Now they're set. Okay, now stop it. This is my issue. Look at this. You see how high? Look at this. Look at how high they are coming off the ball. Look at that. What I mean by that is they're not low. Okay, you see that? They're not low. See how high he is? He comes off engaging the tackles. They're not low. Their pads are higher than the Cardinals' pads. That is, folks, hold on a second. That's a recipe for no sack. That means you're going to give the quarterback time to throw. You're not going to be able to collapse the pocket. So let's keep watching, okay? In fact, let's go back and start again. Start all over. Start back a bit. There we go. Okay. All right, there. Watch what I'm talking about. They come off the ball like this. Watch. Okay, you see how high they are? And look at how the Cardinals very neatly form a pass pocket for Carson Palmer. Right? He's got all the time in the world to throw. He's got all this space. The Raiders, because they started off incorrectly. They started off as if they were taught, look for the run first and then rush the passer. And so the technique causes them to come off the ball high, where their pads, as you can see, are higher than the blockers. See that? In all cases, nobody is immune from this. See that? He's trying his little spin move. It's not working. See that? Okay? And so what happens? Palmer gets set. The Raiders are playing man coverage for the most part. He throws the ball and look at that. Boom, touchdown. Okay? That's, I mean, I can find other examples too, but what I'm going to find next is an example of pass rushing done right by the opponent, the Arizona Cardinals. The Raiders had a number of examples where the defensive line came off high on the ball. Their pads were higher than the offensive line, which means they didn't get leverage. It's the old blocking sled thing. Blocking sled is used to cause you to get used to the idea of keeping your pads low for leverage and pushing, right? That fits for the defensive line as well. Well, the Raiders started high, and basically they allowed themselves to get blocked. Now, that was the Cardinals' touchdown to And then we have, sadly, another example. I didn't want to do this one. I wanted to go to the Cardinals defense, but the highlights are Cardinals. So let me show you yet another example of what I'm talking about here. This is a bit agonizing, but it has, sorry about that. I'm grabbing this little thing here. It keeps trying to get away from me, but I won't let it. All right. There. This situation is 2:47 left in the first quarter, 3rd and 7, Cardinals 7, Raiders nothing. Cardinals ball on the Cardinal 46-yard line, right? The Raiders are in another 4-man front. This one, they have what appear to be, yeah, let's count them. They have 4 down linemen. It's a 4-2-5. It's a 4-2-5 situation. But this set is a zone. You can tell by the where the safeties are lined up and align people so that they can actually go, if they wanted to, they could go 4 short, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 3 deep. Okay, you can't see the rest of this. The Cardinals in a tight 2x2 or 3x2, excuse me. 3x2 is here, or 2x2, excuse me, and that is, you've got 2 wide receivers here, 3 over here, so it's a 3x2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, empty backfield. All right. So, no, go. I'll get to that in a second. Anyway, one of my viewers is asking me a question about the stream, and I'm not permitted to play the stream for copyright reasons. I'm showing you this. What I'm showing you right now, folks, is allowed by what is called fair use legal copyright law, and I want you to get to know something called the Stanford 4 factors test. Okay, so let me go on. And this is on the NFL Network. Watch what happens. All right, Raiders are set now. Look, Raiders come off the ball. Look, they go high again. Okay, they came off with better intentions that time. All right, but look, I want you to see this happens again and again and again, and I want you to see this. All right, watch this. Okay, stop it. You see how they're high again? They've got to stay low. This is coaching. They've got to stay low, and so they get blocked again. And it's almost like they came off high and they try to get leverage after they initially start high. Okay? See that? That's a big problem. And again, what I'm showing you reared its head many times last night during the Raiders Arizona Cardinals contest. Many times. Which is why I point out here to you, because I was watching the game and I thought, you know, I'm going to show that to my viewers. So, and that resulted in a first down completion. And that was by Drew Stanton. Okay? And I'm going through, and this is replete with highlights. Cardinal highlights, all having to do, of course, that was a fumble where Marquise Lee had recovered it, but all having to do with leverage or bad leverage on the part of the Raiders. Even on the fumble that the middle linebacker recovered, the running back had managed to get through, pick up about 4.5 yards, cough the ball up. Okay? Cough the ball up. Now, we've got, and again, it's hard to find it because, again, it's more examples. Boy, it's really difficult to find. You have to go through. I saw the entire game, and it's highlight after highlight after highlight. Highlight after highlight after highlight. All right, now, highlight after highlight after highlight. Now, I believe I found one example, and yeah, I did. And let me show it to you, okay? Here's an example of pass rushing done well on the part of the Cardinals. Watch this. Now, it wasn't the best example, but it's an available example. This one. This comes Cardinals 14, Raiders nothing. Second quarter, 5:15 left, all right? 3rd and 10. E.J. Manuel is the quarterback, all right? The Cardinals are in a 4-2-5. 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers, 5 defensive backs. Okay. Now, interestingly, look at how the Cardinals have this space. I don't know why they do this, but they have this kind of space off the ball. They don't line up as close to the line of scrimmage as you would think. Interesting. But let's take a look at what the Cardinals do when the ball is snapped. Linebackers coming up, possible blitz. And boom, we do get that blitz, okay? And boom, sacked, okay? Let's go back. Let's go back and take a look at the anatomy of that sack. Let's take a look at the anatomy of that sack, all right? It's very crucial and important that we look at that. Where did it come from? Stop. Leverage. Look at them. You see how they're leaning? They are intent on getting low. They come off. Look at that. See how he comes off? He intends to be lower than the offensive lineman. Let's take a look at this pass rush. Look at this. See, he's low. He's still low. You see that? All right, there's a high here, low here, high, trying to get low, even, low. You can't say that for the Raiders. Okay? And boom. But what they do is they collapse the pocket. When they come off the ball, from the very second they come off the ball, they're trying to collapse the pocket. And everything that they do is based on getting leverage on you as the offensive line person. They're trying to get under your pads. They're trying to get under you and around you, okay? They're using their legs to push you back. That's why they're leaning like that. They put on a clinic. The Raiders weren't doing that. So I wanted to make sure you all saw that that was the key to the game, okay? And that was the key to the game, okay? So, and as FTX168 asks, isn't that reflective of the defensive line coach? It's reflective of the head coach, because the head coach sets the tone for how the defense is structured and taught. It's the head coach that determines what alignment is best, or allows his offensive assistants, or excuse me, his defensive assistants, to, if he wants that, put in an alignment they feel is best. But they only do so under his approval, the head coach. All right? One day we're going to get to a point where we say her approval, but I digress. The head coach sets the tone. Now, and Yurt says, isn't what you're talking about what makes Von Miller so great, his ability to get leverage and bend? Right, but he's coached that way. Von Miller wasn't born doing that. He was coached like that. All right? And the Broncos have a number of other players, and have had a number of other players who use that same type of leverage. But the Raiders have Khalil Mack and then everybody else, and that speaks to how the defense overall is taught. Remember how Eddie Vanderbosch was supposed to be this great find as the defensive tackle for the Raiders? He's learning, he's doing all this stuff, right? But we didn't see any of that expectant push in game conditions. It's not that he can't do it. It isn't just that he's still learning, it's what he's being taught that's at issue. Because trust me, we're going to have another round of this. We don't have a great defensive tackle talk, or we don't have the great linebacker talk, as long as these ineffective techniques are maintained. So, hey, yeah, Dr. Death, Bone Thug, yeah, Dr. Death had a personal matter he had to tend to. Richard Lucero says, what's up, Zenny? Watching replay here at hotel in Southern California, taking a small vacation. That's why it's preseason. They'll get it right, but you're right. I don't know if they're going to get it right, Richard. This has been a problem. This is the anatomy of a problem the Raiders faced last year. And when you getting it right in my mind means changing. Okay, that means changing. So, no, you didn't miss Dr. Death. And Yurt says Khalil Mack, as great as he is with better coaching, can be much better than he is currently. And my concern isn't Khalil Mack. Oh, I'm sorry, this keeps happening, folks. I don't know. That is not cool because also damages the phone. I think what's going on is I've got a mic here on, okay, and I've got to make sure the mic doesn't pull. So that's what's happening. I've got this mic here. I've got all these wires. So sorry about that, folks. But at any rate, what I was saying is that as far as Khalil Mack is concerned, I'm not concerned about him. I'm concerned. Hey, how are you, Big Beast? I am concerned about. I'm concerned about the other defensive line members and how they're coached, particularly the interior line. Because when you have examples like the one we saw against the Cardinals, and then you're able to look at the Cardinals' great defensive line and how they're coached, you have to ask the question, how come we can't get that push? How come we can't collapse the pocket like that? And then someone will say, well, gee, our line isn't what it should be. Sometimes, you know, it's not the line. Now, if you want to look at it from the Raiders' standpoint, you could say, as I thought when I first saw the play, when I rewound it originally, where's the hot receiver? Where's the receiver that I can go to in my progression that is the immediate short route? Where's the running back coming out of the backfield that does a little curly cue, right? Wasn't there. So they, on top of not having the ability to keep out the Cardinals' great defensive line because of the way they're rushing their great technique for long, he did have a pocket, E.J. Manuel did for a time. Manuel didn't have anybody he could just go to dump it off and say, you know, take it because I'm going to get killed if you don't, right? Now, I know some of you say, well, it's just preseason, but here's something else. Here's something. Technique doesn't change from one game to the next. You're either taught well, in other words, you're either taught with proper technique, or you're taught using technique that is ineffective. And that does not change unless the coaches themselves elect to have a wholesale adjustment in philosophy. It's as if when the Raiders defensive line people come off the ball, someone's saying to them, hey, always keep an eye out for the run, even when it's an empty backfield or something like that. Even when it's not, you know, even when it's not a running down. They are not effectively rushing the passer and closing the pocket. They're too, and the reason is simple. When they come off the ball, they're not coming off at they're not running. And, you know, it may explain why the Cardinals have this little bitty gap between the line of scrimmage and where they are, about maybe a half a yard or something like that, maybe a quarter yard, because that gives them a running start. So that by the time they engage the offensive line person, they're already leaning. Their body is leaning toward the direction they're going to go into, and they have the offensive line person in their way, and they're poised to be able to go under and push that person back. And what does that do? It collapses the pocket. All right. Now, so, and Yurt says, how did our line look back when Jason Traver was the defensive coach? The same. This has been a problem through the Jack Del Rio era. Okay? This has been a problem through the Jack Del Rio era. And I'm not implying that we had a better situation before, but Khalil Mack, I mean, in past years, we had problems all over the place. The one-loss record reflected it. But last year was, as everyone will tell you, a stellar year. And so the question is, how can we get better? And the focus has always been on what? the defense. But then we have to look at last year, and the fact is that Khalil Mack masked some problems. And what I'm pointing to are the problems that he masked. Because the Raiders, from a scheme perspective, gave Mack room to run, room to roam, room to beat the person. But you've got to make sure that you're collapsing the pocket, period. Yurt says, Drew Clay says it was the second string. That's got nothing to do with it. And Drew, I don't know if you just arrived, Drew, because my point is that I don't care if it's first string or second string. When you come off and it's the first quarter and it's 8 minutes into the game, I'm talking about basic fundamental techniques of rushing the passer that don't change from first string to second string to third string. You can go throughout the league and see why. You can actually identify who the coach is by the style of rushing the passer. For example, people talk about Rod Marinelli, but Rod Marinelli comes from the Floyd Peters line of coaching. Who's Floyd Peters? Floyd Peters was the famous defensive coordinator, defensive line coach, and player in the NFL, who was most noted for coaching the famed line that was called the Purple People Eaters of the Minnesota Vikings, including Alan Page and Jim Marshall and Carl Eller. They had a rush the passer first, clean up the run along the way approach that caused them to quite literally rush through the gap. They weren't trying to two-gap or hold a gap. They were the extreme end. In fact, I favor that end. The person who copied that form of rushing the passer and then tweaked it and then added it to a special scheme we call now called the Tampa 2 was Tony Dungy. And that had its full flowering when he was coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they shut out the heavily favored San Francisco 49ers 9-5. I don't know if anybody remembered that game, but they knocked Jerry Rice out of that game. And I'm not saying that for glee. It was tragic. But I'm only pointing out a fact. It was a brutal contest.